Yo, what is up guys, this is Twister, and it seems that some people would like you to believe that just because a DLC in GTA is free, then that means somehow anything you say about it is completely irrelevant, because you can't complain about something that's free, right? Just because it doesn't directly cost you any money, then you have no grounds to say anything negative about that thing. Well, personally, I'd like to disagree with that. I think it's pretty important to be critical of something and honest about something and give feedback about something where it's appropriate. That's going to help the developers, that's going to help Rockstar if they're looking for feedback on this stuff. But more importantly, at the end of the day, you guys are choosing to spend your time and possibly your own money on a new GTA DLC. So if I can make a video being honest about it and being critical about it, and then that helps you guys to make an informed decision whether to spend your time on it and your real money on it, and I'm more than happy to say what needs to be said in order for you guys to benefit from that. I could easily just milk the DLC for easy videos like a lot of other GTA YouTubers, but I'm thinking I'd rather have some actual decent discussion with you guys about important topics in the game. And if I feel that I can explain something that's pretty misunderstood, then I'm going to do that. So that's why we're talking about free DLC in the game. And yes, I believe you definitely can be 100% critical about something where it's appropriate, and I feel like it's definitely appropriate to do that on YouTube with you guys that are dedicated GTA players. So a lot of people just seem to be blindly defending new content based around the fact that it's a free DLC without really properly understanding how that free DLC works. And can you really argue that it's 100% free when it's essentially funded by microtransactions, by shark cards, and it's the shark cards themselves that are making so much money in the game? It's a genius way of essentially charging for content without directly forcing you to buy content. Shark cards themselves make millions, so even though the DLC might have been free to you or me that have chosen not to buy shark cards, a lot of people do. A lot of people do spend money on the game buying shark cards, and that is how the DLC content is essentially paid for. And that is definitely a good thing about a free DLC system. I'm not trying to dispute that. The good thing about it is that you can choose whether or not you want to pay for new DLC content. But you should be grateful that it's free, right? I mean, they could force you to pay for the DLCs, and that would be way, way worse, wouldn't it? Well, not necessarily. And secondly, Rockstar are never going to do that because the DLC system at the moment and the shark cards are making them so much money, they're not going to release a paid DLC. And that's shown by the fact that they haven't released a paid DLC. No significant single player DLC expansion at a paid price. They're going to continue to dominate the game, and specifically dominate GTA Online with this free DLC business model because shark cards make them so much money. But when you look at it like that, with the way shark cards are working so successfully and how much money it does make, it makes them so much more money than paid DLC would in that same scenario. So it's basically the greatest way they can overcharge for bringing out the same content as what a paid DLC could include. And to explain that further and give an example of how this could be applied to the Gunrunning DLC, let's just imagine for a minute that the Gunrunning DLC was like a £15 or $20 DLC. That way we can kind of compare how they would both work against each other. But a paid DLC is infinitely worse, right? Well, not if it's implemented in a better way than the current free DLC business model is. Imagine that instead of shark cards, you could just buy the new DLC for, like I said, £15 or $20, and there you would get access to all the new in-game content. You'd get the option to get whichever bunker you wanted with all the upgrades for free. You would get access to all the new vehicles as well without having to pay for them because you've already paid for the DLC. You'd get all the new weapons, and you'd also get access to the missions. And for all that, I don't think that £15/$20 is an unfair price point compared to what you see in other games. But then compare how that works to the current microtransaction shark card based free DLC model. That 15 quid would get you a 1.25 million shark card with a little bit of change left over. And what can you get for 1.25 mil out of the new DLC? You can buy the cheapest bunker with 0 upgrades. You can't even get the rocket bike, arguably the best part of the DLC. You can't even get it. The rocket bike is so amazing, but 1.25 mil is just nowhere near enough to pay for all the content that you want to have access to when a new DLC releases. That £15 gets you almost nothing. It barely gets you started in the new DLC, and if you wanted to actually be able to enjoy more of the content, well, have fun paying more money for shark cards, because 15 quid's just not going to cut it. You're going to have to spend a lot more than that, and the way that shark cards are, they're such terrible value for the amount of money you've got to spend to try and get what you want. Using that example, a standard paid DLC method would give you extremely more value for money. You get all the content and you can just focus on enjoying that new content. But in the free DLC and microtransaction system, you're left with two options: completely ignore shark cards and spend a lot of time grinding away trying to earn enough money to buy all the things you actually want from the DLC, or spend loads of money on shark cards to again buy everything you want from the DLC. And you know what? I'll admit that for the longest time I was just one of those people that said, look guys, it's not hard to earn much money in GTA, just save up enough money for when a new DLC comes out. But the thing is, the DLCs, they get more and more expensive, and now I also recognise that, yeah, it still might be easy enough for me to get that money, but for a large amount of the players that still play this game, that don't have the same time I do, that haven't invested as much time into the game that I have done to get a CE office, to get all of the stuff that gets you started in the whole money making process of GTA Online, those guys are going to have a much harder time being able to enjoy some new DLC content, because it's so aggressively biased towards spending money on shark cards. Yeah, but no one's forcing you to pay for shark cards, right? And no one's forcing you to be able to buy all the new vehicles when the DLC releases, right? To be honest, I don't think having access to all the new vehicles when the DLC releases is really that much of an unreasonable request after spending the money on the full priced game itself, or even more than the full price. I've bought GTA 4 times on 4 separate platforms, and especially when you have invested so much time into the game, again, it's not unreasonable to feel like you should have access to everything the game has to offer without it constantly being how much money can you make for this new DLC content. And I'm not suddenly completely against free DLC in GTA. I think for a long time it was done pretty fairly, but I just recognise recently, with everything that's so expensive in the game, the way they're drip feeding content for weeks and months, and also with how little you actually get from shark cards after paying for them, there's just so little value for money through shark cards. And taking all those factors into consideration, the free DLCs are being implemented in a way that are obviously trying to sell shark cards. That's basically the sole purpose. Free DLC and content is to encourage you to buy shark cards, which will then pay for more free DLC in the future. But now I think it's being implemented in a way that's even more anti-consumer. It's getting less and less consumer friendly as the time goes on. Back in the day, let me just refresh your memories, we go back to a time where, believe it or not, content in the DLC wasn't super expensive. Content wasn't drip fed for months on end, week after week. And back then, because of that, shark cards were a pretty decent value for money. It wasn't crazily expensive, and you got quite a bit of the content. You could easily afford what you wanted to buy, whether that with in-game money or shark cards. So I'm not completely against free DLC, but I'm also not completely against paid DLC either. And I think that right now it's just gotten to the point where the value, especially of a paid DLC option, far surpasses the value of what you get from paying shark cards. That's just a fact right now. But I also think that it surpassed the time value of what you got to spend playing the game to earn that money in-game to pay for the new content that you actually want to buy. Well, at least in my opinion anyway. But another thing that I haven't mentioned is that at the very least, when new DLCs came out before, and this is quite a long time ago, the DLC content would at least get added to single player, so you could try it out in single player. And you know, for the people that still only play single player to this day, they have access to the DLC content, but not anymore. You can only access it through GTA Online, because GTA Online is where the money is essentially, and it just makes me feel like when the game originally came out, when GTA Online launched, shark cards were just an option, and then as a result of people buying shark cards, we would get the free DLCs. But now as it progresses, it just feels like that the DLCs now are even more so specifically designed to result in shark card sales. So that's just how I see it at this point, and it's something that I've seen mentioned quite a little bit over the recent few months and everything with the latest DLCs, and I guess it's something that's only going to get worse, I guess. If if you view it as something negative, it's only going to get even more negative. But it is what it is. This video is not exactly a desperate attempt to try and get this to stop. It's just something I feel like I can start discussing and hopefully explain to you guys, because obviously people misunderstand it with those comments at the start of the videos. So I thought, if I can explain it, it'll clear things up. People might understand it a little bit better, and then obviously that's where the discussion starts. So yeah, that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. If you have enjoyed the video, make sure you leave it a like rating. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Follow me on Twitter, it's @itwister. Join the Discord server as well. Both those linked down in the description. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll hopefully see you all in my next one. See you later, guys.